Salut tout le monde! Welcome back to Unintentionally Frenchified. Today's subject is a good one because anytime that I get to interact with you guys is a way better video. I asked on my Instagram account last week if you could send me your assumptions, your stereotypes, what you think or you've heard about French people, and I would react to them based off of my own personal experience in France. I have officially been living in France for over 10 years. I'm married to a French guy. I have a tiny French-American daughter who loves a croissant, so I feel like I've solidified my experience enough in France that I can give you some feedback and either squash those myths or confirm some of your suspicions. Thank you for everyone who sent in responses. If you have not subscribed to the channel or follow me on Instagram, you know what to do right now. Before I jump into your assumptions, today's video is sponsored by Lingoda, and so I want to take 2 minutes to talk to you about their last 100% cashback language sprint in 2021. I know the word cashback makes people a little weary. Like, I'll sign up, but never actually get my cash back. But Lingoda's cashback sprints are the real deal. So if you're really wanting to challenge yourself to accelerate your language skills in French or in German or in English or in Spanish, this is the ideal opportunity for you. You basically commit to going to a certain amount of classes over the course of 3 months. And if you go to those classes, you either get 50% of your money back or 100% of your money back, depending on which type of sprint you chose at the beginning. Lingoda has classes 24/7 online, so they're flexible, they fit into your schedule, class sizes are pretty small, and the qualified native speaking teachers really push you in class and motivate you to speak and interact with the other 2 to 3 students on average who are there. My mom decided to take a French language sprint because she wanted to communicate better with my husband's family. And she literally, I quote her, calls her language sprint life-changing. There's also over 40,000 alumni that can test to the language sprint having work on Lingoda's Instagram and their website, and we also have people part of the Unintentionally Frenchified community who have also signed up for a language sprint. So please leave your comments below so you can encourage any of the other people that are thinking about signing up. The sign up is open until October 15th, and the sprint actually starts on October 31st. I have a voucher code that I put below in the video description that gets you 20 euros off your 49 euro deposit to secure your spot. As I said, everything is in the video description below, so go check it out if you're interested, and don't forget to check out the FAQ session before you sign up. All right, now that I've convinced all of you guys hesitating about doing a language sprint that it is a killer opportunity, let's get to your assumptions. C'est parti. French guys are so much more romantic than British men. ... WTF. Now, I don't know the comparison with British guys because I've never actually dated a British guy, but I would say that the French definitely have a tendency to be more romantic than what most people are used to in Anglo-Saxon men. They tend more, Anglo-Saxon men, to be the stronger silent type, and the French tend to really share their feelings on a whole, so that definitely can come off when you're not used to it as pretty romantic. And then the French are also known to be ready to be in a committed relationship quite quickly compared to, say, Americans who tend to date for a while and kind of figure things out before they're exclusive. And so that also can kind of come across as romantic if that's what you're looking for. I remember when I first started dating French guys, I thought it was a little too much. It was like, whoa, slow down, we just met, we're not exclusive. But it's definitely very cultural, and I think if you are looking to date somebody, then it is pretty romantic to have this guy who's like interested in you, chatting about his feelings and how he feels about you. And so I think this is maybe on like generalizing, of course, but I would say true. The French are naturally skinny. Stop right here. No! I have done an entire video on French gaining weight, so please check that out if this question interests you, and I think I'm gonna do another video about it because I'm quite passionate about this subject. First off, tons and tons of thin French women is very much a Parisian assumption, and you're talking about Parisians or big cities in France when you're talking about this very, very wafy thin woman. But secondly, the French absolutely as a whole eat better than Americans. This is a fact for sure. However, the French are not like naturally skinny. They have smaller portions. They eat healthier. They don't snack at all during the day. It's a very different way of approaching food than in the US. But don't be fooled. There are still overweight people in France. There's still a problem with overconsumption of sugary foods and eating too much, and there is a lot of pressure to stay thin in France. The French aren't religious. Now, this is a good one, bit of a juicy one. I would tend to say that that's true compared to what I know growing up in the US. You know, we say in the US that church and state is separate, but then we also have like the motto, "In God we trust," and other things that kind of show that we're not quite as separate. And then you've got France, where things are like church and state is really separate. I find most of the French to be pretty neutral about religion. The French debate about politics and religion and things that maybe we would find a bit more uncomfortable to talk about in the US. And most of the time when I hear people debating about religion, they tend to be, you know, atheists, or I don't know, they maybe had a religious upbringing, but they don't really go to church, or they're not very like, you know, they're not practicing. Of course, there are religious communities absolutely in France. But I would say as a whole, I wouldn't consider the country to be like a super religious country, whereas there's definitely areas of the US that are very religious. So depending on who you're comparing with, I would say yes. The French are pretty snobby. Tricky, I would say yeah, the French really do come across as snobby for some things. The thing about the French is that they are very direct most of the time. So they don't really sugarcoat the same way that we do in the US. They don't beat around the bushes at all. And so they really say what they're thinking. And the French do think that they are superior when it comes to things like food, when it comes to their culture, when it comes to their language. They do think that they have the best of this, and they aren't shy about saying it. But then to be fair, when you think about the US and the fact that we love to say how we're number one all the time and we're the best in the world, I mean, we also think we're quite awesome. So I don't know if we are less snobbier than the French, but in any case, the French have a reputation for being snobby, and I think it's kind of deserved. France has smokers all over the place. Yes and no. Again, I think this depends a bit on how you grew up and if you were surrounded by smokers or not. But in France, the rules have changed a lot. You can't smoke inside of restaurants anymore. But the thing that actually shocks me about smokers is not adult smokers, and it's more actually like the high school students. You will see outside of French high schools kids standing together smoking when they're 15, 16, 17, very normal. In the US, that is like totally interdit, like not at all legal, and so that's just not something that you see. So that always kind of surprises me. But as an adult, like sitting on a terrace, do I feel like I'm like always overcome with smoke? No. The French make fun of you when you speak French. No. The French have such a bad reputation for apparently like laughing, making fun of you when you butcher their language. I would say that I have never been made fun of for my French. People will, when they find out that I've been here for like 10 years, make sometimes like snide comments about how much of an accent that I still have. And so depending on how they say it, it can kind of rub me the wrong way. But I've never felt when I've made an effort to speak French that that effort wasn't appreciated by the other person. When you're in a big city in France, a lot of people do speak English. And so sometimes people will speak English back when they hear me speak French with my accent, because they're trying to do what they think is like nice, because they think you're struggling and they want to help. So I would say that I don't think that that's very true, and I think people always appreciate when you try to speak their language and you make an effort. Everybody drinks wine and people watches on terraces. Yes. Vive la France. This is a national sport. Sitting on a terrace, it doesn't matter if you're drinking your wine, you got your coffee, you've got a pastis, you're drinking whatever you want to drink. You're sitting on a terrace and you're people watching, and you can stare for hours. The French love you to stare. They sit you right in front of the street and just let you enjoy your time. It is fabulous. The French hate Americans. This is an interesting one. I would say from my experience, not true. I would not say that the country of France as a whole really hates Americans. I don't think they agree with us a lot, but I do think that they remember that, you know, we both sides remember that we fought together in 2 world wars, we helped each other in our revolutionary wars and our independence, we support each other, we're allies, we have quite like close diplomacy relationships between the countries. So I still think there's definitely, I never got the impression French people hate Americans. I do think they disagree with our policies a lot, and I think that they disagree with kind of the bullying attitude that the US has sometimes, and I don't think, the French love to complain. That is also a national sport. So do they complain a lot about the Americans? Yes. Do they hate us as a country? No, I really think that could be reserved for other countries, not necessarily France. French homes smell because of the cheese. I'm gonna rephrase that and then give you a yes. French refrigerators smell because of the cheese. Absolutely. If you don't find yourself a good Tupperware to stick your smelly cheese in, French people, when they open up their refrigerators, it literally smells like someone died in there. It is horrendous, but it's not like that smell lasts. I mean, I don't walk into French people's houses and constantly feel like I'm in the middle of like a fromagerie and it smells like butt. I mean, it's totally fine. So if you switch that one around a bit, then I'll give you a yes. France has castles everywhere. No, I wouldn't go so far to say everywhere, but again, you compare with the US, they definitely have a castle on every corner. I think when you're outside of the big cities in the countryside, you definitely within like 30 minutes can find either like a really cool fort or a castle or some kind of like beautiful old structure. They're kind of, I guess, sprinkled a bit everywhere. About 2 hours from Paris, you have the Loire Valley, which is just like full of chateaus, and we do have lots of like friends who get married in castles, so there's a lot compared to the US. All right, so that is a wrap. I didn't have time for any more. If you missed out on sending your questions or I didn't get to your questions, please write them in the comments below. I'll come back to you and let you know what I think based on my experience. I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you would have answered differently or if you don't feel the same way, please let me know. Don't forget to check out Lingoda if you're interested in the last language sprint of 2021. You'll get my discount code and all information in the video description. Otherwise, I will see everybody la semaine prochaine. Bisous!